Am I the butthole for walking out over a chair? Now guys, OP has given us some trigger warnings before we get into this one. Disrespect, anger issues, and also importantly, violence against chairs. Okay, hear me out. For as long as I can remember in my family, almost any time I got up from my seat, someone would take it, to either be funny or to claim it as if no one was using it. And as a teenager, it literally got to the point that I bought my own folding chair so I could pick it up and carry it with me. If I left it where it was, somebody would take it. Then they'd get mad when I wanted it back. For example, on a holiday last year, I got up from my chair for a moment to help with something, and I came back to find a kid in it. And then the family berated me for wanting the child to move. But I tell them that when a man owns and brings his own chair, they expect to be able to use it. I own a very nice folding chair that's comfortable and easily portable, and I pretty much bring it to any family events because people are always scrambling for chairs. Well, the other day, I went to a birthday party for my nephew. Now, like always, I brought my own chair, but at some point, I had to use the bathroom. When I came back, my chair was gone, and everyone was acting like they didn't know where it was. I said they had 1 minute to return it or I was leaving. They laughed at first, but then realized I was serious as I started going for the door. Everybody told me to just calm down and it was just a joke. I said I don't care if they think I'm a stick in the mud. I wouldn't be bringing my own chair all the time if other people weren't always taking my seat when I get up. I don't think it's funny. I never did. My brother-in-law then pulled the chair out of where he'd hidden it, and when I got it back, one of the legs was bent. I said it was not like this before, and how could he possibly have done this to a metal chair? He said he could fix it and tried to unbend it, but he only made it worse. The chair is pretty much unusable now because the leg is warped, and I don't want to risk putting weight on it. I told my brother-in-law he owes me $50 for the chair because that's what I paid for it new 2 years ago. He got mad and kept saying it was just a stupid chair. I said it was my stupid chair, and this wouldn't have happened if he wasn't so immature that he and everyone else had to mess with me for years about where I sit. Then I took my now messed up chair and walked out. My family has been blowing my phone up, saying that it's just a chair and to let it go, but I still want my brother to pay me back for it. So, am I the butthole? Okay guys, if you're watching on YouTube, pause the video right now, get down in the comments and let me know, do you think OP is in the wrong or the right here? If you're not, don't worry, because this story has an update. Last night, I sent a mass text out to my family that I would not be going to any family function, no matter how important it is, until they make this right, by promising not to screw with me anymore, and repay me for the chair. They've mostly gone quiet now, but I can wait. I've got all the time in the world for them to realize I'm serious. Okay, that was the update. And then, just a few days ago, a new post appeared from OP. This is incredible. The title of this is, I walked out over a chair and my family tore itself apart. Now this was actually posted to r/entitled people. I wasn't going to come back here again. To be honest, I'd completely forgotten I made this account. I only got back in because I'd written down the password and left it in my desk. I was listening to Reddit videos on YouTube a couple of weeks ago when I suddenly heard my old Am I the Butthole post. So, I thought I'd give an update. Well, things escalated a lot after I made that post because I linked it to my parents and other family members after a little while. They were furious with me at first. Some even mocked me, saying things like, "Oh, watch what you say or do around OP, he might just post about it on Reddit." But when they actually read the comments on my post that I'd made, they became mortified. To briefly summarize the comments, as you guys can probably imagine, they were all saying that OP was totally in the right and that his family were a bunch of losers. My brother-in-law did agree to pay for a new chair and gave me the money I asked for. I bought a better folding chair than my last one, and I resumed going to family functions. But whenever I was there was this air about some of the family members. They looked at me like I'd sucked all the fun out of the room. My parents had stopped thinking the chair thing was funny, and even scolded a kid for taking my seat when I got up to use the bathroom. The only problem is that this kid was my nephew, and he started crying when they made him get up. My brother-in-law came to the boy's rescue, and my nephew ended up blurting out that his daddy told him he could do it. When I was out of the bathroom, there was a big fight about it going on. Several family members, including my sister and brother-in-law, were all yelling that it was just a dang chair and I shouldn't be so butthurt about it. My parents demanded to know why they were so butthurt about not being allowed to screw with me anymore. Like, what was their motivation after doing it for so long? It made no sense and it wasn't funny anymore. And that's when I intervened. I told them that none of this would have ever happened if they hadn't been so intent on messing with me when there really was no point to it. And I only started bringing my own chair because I could never find a stable place to sit. And if they still thought they were in the right about the situation, then they were just bullies, plain and simple. And what kind of example is that to be setting for their son? My brother-in-law raged, grabbed my new chair, and hurled it through the living room bay window. There was a bit of a pause before he realised what he'd just done. Then he took off in his car and left my sister and nephew there. My parents got my sister to call him, and over the phone, they threatened to go to the police if he didn't pay for the damages. My brother-in-law yelled a few F-bombs until my sister took the phone back, and she said that he can either make things right or she'll divorce him. Well, that did the trick, because he came back looking like a kicked puppy with his head hanging low. He apologised to me and my parents without even looking at us, said he'd pay for the new bay window, and he left again. My sister said he drank himself to sleep that night. My new chair was just fine. It took being hurled through a bay window like a champ. There was hardly a scratch on it. My brother hired a window company to come and replace the window, and they had to measure and order a new one before it could be installed. Until then, the window had to be covered with some plywood. It took some time, but they got the new bay window, and it's better than the old one. Though I imagine that it was extra expensive because it's a bay window. Now, the family was still divided about the entire situation for a while. Mainly my brother-in-law's parents, my uncle, and a couple of cousins. They blamed me and called me obnoxious over insisting on bringing my own chair and refusing to let anyone else use it. So I compromised. I said that if I had a good designated seat that no one would try to take away, I'll leave my chair in my car. It took 2 more family barbecues before they finally agreed to this. Since then, I've left the chair in my car unless there really isn't enough seating. And that's only happened once. The problem is though, that even though they've stopped screwing with me, they were still screwing with each other until things went too far. They still like to take each other's seats, but I guess others were following my example because they also put their foot down and demanded it stop. It's been going on for decades and they've had enough. My brother-in-law stayed out of the fight entirely and hasn't caused any more trouble, but for several family functions, a number of people now didn't bother to show up. My mother was broken up about it because she loves hosting parties. It took months, but everything more or less normalized again. But without the chair thing going on, some have resorted to other stupid pranks, like a little device you hook to a chair that makes farts. They didn't do this to my seat, but did it to a cousin. And said cousin got really petty at the next party and let out real farts. He said he ate a whole pack of fiber bars and had eggs for breakfast, and it was dang nasty. Other pranks included hiding eating utensils, a stink bomb, hiding some sort of monster thing in the toilet, cellophane in the doorway, ripping paper when somebody bends over, messing with drinks, hiding shoes, copying outfits, a container of foam packing peanuts above a doorway, and finally, the one that really infuriated my aunt and uncle when a party was held at their house, a glitter bomb. They got their carpet professionally cleaned afterwards and billed the person who made the glitter bomb for it. So now pranks are just over. They don't want any more, and I'm fine with that. But the last few family functions have been a bit dull. I think people were so used to how things were that now they're trying to find other ways to amuse themselves that don't involve cell phones. Okay, and there we go. That is the end of that one. An interesting post, that is for sure. Now, I have to admit that OP is definitely not the butthole here, right? They're not in the wrong. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit, I don't know, weird to bring your own chair to family functions, but he's been pushed to these lengths, and I kind of understand it. Don't get me wrong, it's a bit odd to bring your own chair to someone else's house, but I kind of get it. I wouldn't do it myself, it is a bit weird, but I get it. The main thing, and maybe the sad thing, is that your family OP kind of sound like there's nothing going on without these pranks, which is sad. Were the pranks really the thing that was holding this entire family together? I ask. I think they just might have been. And for those to have ended because of OP, does that in fact make him the butthole after all? I'll leave that up to you to decide, guys. Now, this next post is unbelievable, and I can almost guarantee that you will have no idea what happens next. Am I the butthole for laughing after my sister implied my brother's girlfriend's dish wasn't good at Thanksgiving? I am a 27-year-old woman, and my brother, John, who is 26, and I are very close. So I was definitely shocked when he surprised us on Thanksgiving by bringing his new girlfriend, Chelsea. A truly wonderful football team, but that's not part of the story. Let's carry on. He was very happy though, and to be honest, that's the only thing we want for him. So we, grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, held off on all questions until another time. Anyway, dinner time rolls around and we're sharing everything. And my aunt kind of pulls me off to the side and tells me we're not going to be eating my mashed potatoes because Chelsea brought some. And John asked that we serve those. Now, I was a little peeved, not gonna lie, because I've done the mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving since I was 16, but I got over it pretty fast. I really didn't care as long as they were good. Spoiler alert, they were not. Everything that could have gone wrong with those potatoes went wrong. They were raisins. Chelsea was really excited though, so when she asked everybody if they were good, she got some mm-hmms. You know, the kind you do with your mouth closed and an uncomfortable smile on your face. Everything else was good, so her dish was highlighted. We all thought we passed the test though, until my nephew spit it out into a tissue. She said something about not pleasing everybody to lighten the mood, because we were all looking at him hard as heck, and my brother went, "I'm sure they're glad to have a break from my sister's potatoes anyway," and then laughed. Now, I wasn't going to say anything, but my younger sister, who was 22, said, "We are not," in the most monotone voice, and I just laughed, like one burst of a cackle. Chelsea teared up, and the rest of the night was awkward. My brother called me a butt and is still mad at me. So, am I the butthole? Alright, immediate thoughts, no. Because come on, like, what's she doing? Raisins in mashed potatoes. I know there are some dodgy, culinary decisions going on right now in 2022. Pineapple on pizza springs to mind. Let me know in the comments down below if you're a fan. But I personally think it's disgusting and it's a disgrace to the human race. But apart from that, raisins in mashed potatoes. I'd rather jump off a bridge. Anyway, there's an update to the story. Let's hear it. So first of all, let's clear up some questions and things in general from the first post. Yes, they were actual raisins, not the metaphorical kind. They were just mixed into the mashed potatoes. Yes, my wife makes a side salad, as all traditional dishes are given to immediate family members. No, my brother doesn't make anything, he never has. Chelsea and John have been together for about a month and a half at this point. The laugh wasn't a ha ha ha, it was just a ha. One very loud ha. Alright then, into the meat. John is still mad at my sister and I. I had a conversation with Chelsea a day after I originally made the post. I explained that while my original apology was genuine, I can understand that it didn't come off that way and that I really was sorry. I also said I had no intentions to hurt her feelings whatsoever. She explained that my brother told her to bring those potatoes, which she questioned because she's familiar with the traditional Thanksgiving setup. The justification for that was him wanting her to feel like a part of the family. She also said she was worried about none of us going for her dish and mentioned it to my brother, who then asked my aunt to only display hers. Apparently she saw some kind of tutorial online with the raisins and just went for it. No, it was not cultural. She asked for some mash tips and she was going right with her technique. She just panicked when they burnt and then added water, which I'm assuming is what altered the taste. Then she added the raisins, which we both agreed could be left out of future potatoes. Overall, Chelsea and I are all good, and she will be coming to Christmas dinner. Okay, sounds like this one was sorted pretty decently. Again though, as I said before, I must reiterate, raisins and mashed potatoes, don't do it guys. If you're thinking about doing it, throw the raisins in the bin. Now I'm trying to work out in this story, who was more of a butthole? Chelsea or her boyfriend, your brother OP? I'm kind of leaning towards the feeling that John was in the wrong here. Why tell your new girlfriend to make the one dish that you know that your sister is gonna make and has made for the past, I don't know, how old are you again? 27? So what, for the past 11 years, your sister has made this one dish for Thanksgiving, yet you tell your new girlfriend to also make that same dish? Surely there's something else you could have done. Maybe even a side salad. Not potatoes with raisins. Come on.